Last time, we pulled back the curtain on some of the music's most devastating contracts, from the Braxtons to Tierra Marie, artists who gave everything and got back almost nothing. But the industry never stopped. The traps kept getting set, and today, we're going deeper. Part 2, 5 more stories, 5 more artists the music business chewed up and nearly swallowed whole. Let's get into it. TLC, broke while selling millions. TLC, 3 letters, one of the best-selling girl groups of all time. Over 65 million records sold worldwide. So how did they end up filing for bankruptcy in 1995, right after dropping one of the biggest albums of the decade? The answer starts with Atlanta, 1991. 3 young women, Tion T-Boz Watkins, Lisa Lopez, Left Eye, and Rosanda Chili Thomas, signed with LaFace Records under L.A. Reid and Babyface. On paper, it seemed like a dream deal. In reality, it was a financial maze designed so they never see the exits. The debut album went 4 times platinum, 6 million copies worldwide, 3 top 10 singles. Now, how much did TLC earn from all that? About $50,000 each total. Let that sink in. The average American worker in 1992 made around $24,000 a year. So after selling 6 million albums, TLC each took home roughly what a regular person would have made in 2 years at a desk job. Meanwhile, LaFace and Arista were counting millions. According to one report, the group received about 1% of the 175 million their albums generated. 1%. That's not a bad deal. That's a theft with a contract attached. Why? Because the royalty structure was built on recoupment. Every dollar the label spent on production, videos, marketing, tour support, it all came out of TLC's share first, and LaFace Records spent lavishly, which meant TLC was always in debt to the label, even when the label was profiting enormously. They also had a production deal layered on top, meaning they were signed to Pebetone, a company run by their manager, Perry Pebbles Reid. Pebbles then signed them to LaFace, so TLC had 2 levels of people taking cuts before they even saw a single dime. In 1994, TLC dropped Crazy Sexy Cool. It became the best-selling album by a girl group in history. Waterfalls, Creep, Red Light Special, the world could not get enough. And in 1995, TLC filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Each member had over millions of dollars in debt. Left Eye's insurance premiums alone on the house she burnt down were higher than what the group earned from the album. T-Boz was battling sickle cell disease with no financial safety net. Chili was trying to support a child, and all 3 were told this was just how the industry worked. TLC eventually sued Pebbles and negotiated a new deal directly with LaFace. Their 3rd album, Fan Mail, earned them significantly more, but it took nearly a decade of being exploited first. In the 1996 Grammys, after winning Best R&B Album for Crazy Sexy Cool, Chili said on stage, and I quote, "We've sold 10 million albums worldwide. We're as broke can be." Left Eye added, "I hope we go down in history for being something more than just another famous act that got ripped off." Left Eye passed away in a car accident in Honduras in 2002, and in one of the most jaw-dropping revelations T-Boz has ever shared, the group had to pay $1 million per letter to buy back the rights to their own name. $3 million in total just to own the word TLC. And the lesson? It can be one of the biggest groups in the world and still be broke if the contract was designed that way from day one. So what happened to T-Boz and Chili after all of that? T-Boz is still standing, which is remarkable given she has battled sickle cell anemia her entire life. She wrote a memoir, A Sick Life, TLC and Me, sharing her full story. She's appeared on reality TV, stayed connected with her fans, and has continued to speak out about what TLC endured. Chili has also stayed active in entertainment. She has done acting, reality TV, and as of early 2026, she is a co-host on Second Chance Love on Hallmark Plus. She's also a grandmother now, and after her son's wife gave birth in 2024. Together, T-Boz and Chili are estimated to each be worth between 6 and 10 million in 2026. Now that sounds like a lot until you remember they sold 65 million records and generated hundreds of millions for everyone around them. And the legacy, still growing. A Broadway musical, Crazy Sexy Cool, the TLC musical, is set to debut in June 2026. T-Boz and Chili are involved as producers. Their story is finally being told on their own terms. So they didn't survive the industry, they outlasted it. Koffee Brown, The Art of Being Shelved. Before we get into the trap, let's acknowledge, most of you probably don't even know who Koffee Brown is, and that's exactly the point. Koffee Brown was an R&B duo, Vernell V. Sales and Volante Vons Moore, brought together by producers K. Gee of Naughty by Nature and RL of Next. Smooth sound, genuine talent, industry buzz. They signed with Arista Records, the same label that had Whitney Houston, TLC, Toni Braxton, some major players. And then nothing. They were shelved. Their debut album sat in a vault for years. Shelving is one of the music industry's dirtiest tricks. A label signs an artist, paying them in advance, and then simply doesn't release their music. Why? Could be label politics, could be they change direction, could be they just don't want you going to their competitor. When you're signed, you typically can't release music anywhere else. So being shelved means your career is in suspended animation. You're not dropped, but you're not active either. You're kind of just frozen. Koffee Brown managed to get one song out, After Party, which got some traction, but the full album never came. Arista went through label restructuring, priorities shifted, and Koffee Brown just fell through the cracks. Fonz, the original male half of the duo, largely stepped away from the music industry after their time at Arista ended. VSales largely disappeared from the mainstream as well until the 2023 reunion. This is the silent tragedy of shelving. It doesn't make headlines. There's no bankruptcy filing, no dramatic lawsuit, and artist just fades. And the public never even knows what they missed. Here's something that might surprise you. Koffee Brown is actually back. The group performed in 2023 with the original female member, VSales, and a new male vocalist, Ryan Lane, replacing the original member, Fonz Moore. Still produced by KG of Naughty by Nature, who was there with them from the very beginning. They dropped new singles in 2024 and 2025, building their fan bases back entirely on streaming platforms. No major labels, no label politics, just the music the way it should have been from day one. As for Fonz, the original member of the duo, he largely stepped away from the music industry after Koffee Brown's time at Arista. The shelving didn't just cost them the label deal, it cost them their career entirely. And V kept coming back. She kept going, and that resilience alone deserves its own recognition. Blaque, girl group politics and the label that failed them. This is Blaque, Brandy Williams, Natina Reed, and Shamari Fears. Atlanta, late 90s, hard R&B with hip-hop energy, before that was even a formula. They were signed to Trackmasters Entertainment and distributed through Columbia Records. Their debut went platinum. 808 was everywhere. They were on the Bring It On soundtrack. Everything was pointed up. And then the industry does, of course, what the industry does. Their second album, Blackout, dropped in 2001, and the rollout was a mess. Promotion was inconsistent. The label support dried up. Sales underperformed compared to the debut. In the music business, one underperforming album is often enough to go from priority artist to an afterthought, and Blaque experienced exactly that. They attempted to come back with the third album, but the label situation had become so tangled and unsupportive that it never got a proper release. And then life hit harder than any label could. Natina Reed was gone. She was struck and killed by a car in 2012, just months after Blaque reunited for a tribute performance honoring Lisa Left Eye Lopez, the woman who first believed in them. She was 31 years old. Shamari DeVoe, formerly Shamari Fears, married Ronnie DeVoe of New Edition and appeared on Real Housewives of Atlanta. She and Brandy had kept Natina's memory alive with an annual celebration called Remembering Natina. Brandy Williams has stayed busy as well in entertainment and entrepreneurship. She runs a nail polish and clothing brand called Be Polished and co-hosts The Throwback Zone, a classic entertainment show. In 2019, Shamari and Brandy finally released Torch, the shelved third album that was recorded back in 2003, but it never came out because of label issues. Over 16 years later, the fans finally got to hear it and still had Natina's voice on it. In 2025, the two remaining members headline Soulteenth Fest as Blaque. They're still out here, still performing, and still honoring what was built. Mya, hiding in plain sight. Mya Harris, Washington, D.C., signed to Interscope Records at 18 years old, self-titled debut in 1998, Grammy-winning feature on Lady Marmalade in 2001. Everything was going right, except it wasn't, at least not behind the scenes. Mya's issues at Interscope were less about a single dramatic moment and more about a slow erosion. Label priorities shifted, urban R&B was being pushed aside for other genres the label was investing in. Her fourth album, Mood Ring, was released in 2003 to limited promotion. Despite strong critical reception, the label barely pushed it. Sales suffered because of visibility, not quality. She eventually parted ways with Interscope, but artists in her position rarely leave their masters, their publishing, or much leverage at all. Here's what separates Mya's story. She adapted. She went independent. She started Planet 9, her own label imprint. She has continued releasing music on her own terms for over 15 years independently, something very few artists manage to successfully do after a major label deal. But the question has to be asked, where would Mya's career have gone if Interscope had properly supported her the way that they were supposed to support her, and that how other artists are being supported on that roster? Her talent was never in question, the investment in her was. She won a Grammy, and she still got treated like a background artist. That tells you everything about how labels see their own talent. So where is she now? Mya's doing better than most people realize, and that's kind of the point. She's been running Planet 9, her independent label, since 2008. That's over 15 years of releasing music completely on her own terms, owning her masters, and calling her own shots. She became independent before independence was even a talking point in the industry. In 2025, Billboard named her as one of the top 100 women artists in the 21st century. She performed Case of the X at the BET Awards for the 25th anniversary of 106 in Park. She toured with Brandy and Monica on the Boy Is Mine tour. And as of early 2026, she announced Retrospect, her 10th studio album, dropping via Planet 9 in partnership with Virgin Music. It features 21 Savage and Joyner Lucas' first album in 8 years. She also joined the Pussycat Dolls North America tour as a special guest in 2026. So Mya didn't disappear, the industry just stopped covering her. But there's the difference there. She's proof that walking away from a major label isn't the end, and sometimes it's the beginning. Al Greene and Hi Records, When the Trap Wore a Friendly Face. Al Greene, one of the most gifted vocalists in American history. Let's Stay Together, Tired of Being Alone, Call Me, songs so perfect they felt like they fell out of the sky. He recorded them all at Hi Records in Memphis, produced almost entirely by Willie Mitchell, and that relationship between Greene and Mitchell is where the story lives. Willie Mitchell was a Black producer, band leader, and co-owner of Hi Records. He found Al Greene, shaped his sound, and built the sonic template that Greene a superstar. And Willie Mitchell controlled everything: the production, the arrangements, the session musicians, the high rhythm section, who were paid separately, the publishing deals, the creative direction. Al Greene was the face, and Willie Mitchell was the infrastructure. And when you're the face without ownership of the infrastructure, you're at mercy of the person who built it. This is what makes the story different from a simple label villain narrative. Mitchell wasn't some corporate suit. He was a collaborator, a mentor, and a business partner who so happened to hold the keys. The publishing situation at Hi Records meant that the songwriting royalties, the money that kept generating income for decades, were not structured in Al Greene's favor. Many of his songs he co-wrote were registered under publishing arrangements that gave Hi Records and its associates the lion's share of the long-term revenue. Greene was earning recording royalties, but the deep generational money from publishing, much of it flowed elsewhere. In 1974, a woman named Mary Woodson entered Al Greene's life and, in a deeply traumatic incident, poured boiling grits on him before taking her own life. Al Greene saw it as a sign from God. He walked away from secular music entirely and became a pastor at Full Gospel Tabernacle in Memphis, a church he still leads today. People frame this as a spiritual calling, and it was. But it's impossible to ignore how disillusioned Greene had become with the industry. The money wasn't matching the legacy, and the control wasn't his. And for Al Greene, he's a legend. But he built that legacy on terms he didn't write, and the music business collected royalty on his genius for decades before he can even fully reclaim it. The trap doesn't always look like a villain. Sometimes it looks like someone who genuinely helped you, but helped themselves more. And so where is he now? Al Greene is 80 years old today, and he is still at the pulpit. He still leads the Full Gospel Tabernacle Church at 787 Hale Road in Memphis, Tennessee, the same church he's pastored since 1976. People fly in from all over the world just to hear a chance to hear him preach and sing on a Sunday morning. He's been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Gospel Music Hall of Fame, and has a Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. The music world eventually gave him his flowers. He occasionally still tours and records from home as well, but his home, his real home, is that church in Memphis. Not a stage, not a label, a building he owns, a congregation he leads on his own terms. In a way, Al Greene found what most artists never do, a place where nobody can shelve them, recoup him, or own the rights to what he creates. He found freedom. He just took losing the industry to find it. 5 artists, 5 traps, different decades, different labels, and different circumstances, but the same underlying truth. The music industry has historically been structured to extract value from artists, especially Black artists, and redistribute it to anyone else in the room. TLC was global superstars filing for bankruptcy. Koffee Brown was talented and invisible. Blaque got one shot and watched it evaporate. Mya won a Grammy and still got deprioritized. Al Greene built a genre and lost its royalties. This is not just ancient history. These contracts, these structures, these tactics, they're still being used today. The names change, but the trap stays the same. Know the business before you sign the paper, because once your name is on that dotted line, the label's lawyers already know something you don't. If this hits different, share it. And if you want a part 3, let us know who you want us to cover next. Thanks for tuning in to The Deep Cut, where the deep runs deeper than the truth. And remember, every story has a deeper cut. We'll see you next Sunday.